around the world to learn what professors are researching within their specialties and be the first in the know. Listen as we discover the newest green innovations, research the behavioral patterns of animals, and examine how the arts are being studied today. You'll find it all on the Academic Minute.
Listen every weekday afternoon during the KSJE Evening News at 5:30.
Each week on Celtic Connections, we bring you the finest of traditional and contemporary Celtic music from Ireland, Scotland, England, Wales, and North America. Tunes you can tap your toes to, and songs that will transport you to misty mountains and moors. This is Brian Kelso-Crow inviting you to join me for Celtic Connections.
Listen to Celtic Connections every Saturday afternoon at 1 on KSJE 90.9 FM, Farmington.
Hi, this is Sergio Miałniczenko with the Brazilian Hour. I would like to invite you to join me every week with the best and most exciting music of Brazil. Every week, right here.
Tune in the Brazilian Hour every Saturday night at 11 on KSJE Farmington. This program is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, who's expanding its services to offer low-cost blood screenings all year round, now offering walk-in convenience to get the blood tests you want when you want them. MyLabs, patient-ordered testing, is available in Farmington at the hospital's laboratory and the Outpatient Diagnostic Center on 30th Street. Also in Aztec at San Juan Health Partners Family Medicine at 120 Llanos Street. With nearly 20 tests available, there's an option for everyone. MyLabs, patient-ordered testing, a wellness service of San Juan Regional Medical Center. 8:37. It is Thursday morning, November 15th, here at KSJE. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Michlin, and good morning to our viewers who are watching this morning on Facebook and YouTube. You're seeing a picture of the sunrise here at San Juan College this morning, and as you can imagine, it's another mostly sunny day in our forecast after a pretty clear and cold night. Checking on the current temperature right now outside our studios here at San Juan College, 28 degrees in Farmington. Winds are out of the east-southeast at 2 miles per hour, and the weather forecast today, again, mostly sunny, 52 for a high this afternoon, clear and 22 overnight, mid-50s for highs tomorrow and Saturday, mid-20s overnight, 52 and partly sunny skies on Sunday. It looks to be pretty much the same all into next week for the Thanksgiving holiday, but that is the forecast for the next several days. My guest here in the studio, Mike Eisenfeld, is here from the San Juan Citizens Alliance. Mike, again, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me this morning.
You bet. I appreciate you joining us. And again, folks, if you want to join the conversation, you can make a comment on our Facebook page, or you can give us a call here at 505-566-3909, and you can join the conversation with Mike Eisenfeld this morning. You mentioned before the break a little bit about the changes in the political landscape, especially statewide in New Mexico. Now the state will have an entirely Democratic congressional delegation. There's a Democratic governor coming in with Michelle Lujan Grisham, and she has been talking a lot about renewable energies for our state. Locally, a few changes with some Democrats beating out some incumbent Republicans, and some other incumbent Republicans winning back their races to the state legislature. So big things to be aware of, I guess, moving forward.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of opportunities. I would like to see our politicians, including like Lujan Grisham, Ben Ray Lujan, Martin Heinrich, and Tom Udall. I'd like to see them spend a little more time up here for their constituents. It just seems like we are in a period of transition, and although we have been relied on for decades and decades and decades of oil and gas and coal resources, what happens to communities that are in transition? So I'm hoping that with some of the change in politics, that it also bring a little bit more of the intellectual curiosity for our community to become more engaged in a proactive way. Right. And I just felt like Governor Martinez was really kind of unavailable to us with the dynamics of our community. And so that's on us to ask for more discussion about, what's happening. We can utilize venues such as the Four Corners Future Forum. We could have some of these folks appear on your show.
Would love it.
And then we can also, again, I don't think it's right for the continued polarization. I think that we need to be above that. I'm getting tired of kind of, the whole like oil and gas people are bad people. Coal people are bad people. The environmental extremists did this, did that. It just seems that there's got to be some middle grounds.
Right. I would hope so. And I would hope, again, if we're in a period of economic transition, as it appears that we are here in the San Juan Basin and San Juan County, with the future of these coal-fired power plants that have provided so many jobs, so much economic impact for the last, I don't know, what are we talking about, 50 years or more, that maybe there's something at the state level that could be done to incentivize some new investments in either renewable energy or other technologies or something to again, sustain this community through this type of transition. Everyone always talks to me about how we have the transmission lines to get power out of this area that's generated here. So that's an already built-in infrastructure. It doesn't seem like a big leap to me as to why we can't replace, if coal's going away, why it can't be replaced with something else. And what that something else is, they don't pay me nearly enough to figure that out. But if it's solar field, fine. Yeah. If it's natural gas peaking plants, that's fine. I don't think wind works too well in this area, but I'm all for other points of view to try to again sustain the economic engine that is San Juan County. And I know we can't have all our eggs in one basket.
Well, I mean, that's the first part of it is I think that we need to inventory and then bring in, some of the expertise because, like I said, I'm notorious for not being a very good maintenance person at my house. So, I mean, I know when to bring in the roofers and the plumbers. Right.
It's time for you to get off the ladder and call in a professional.
Before I create more problems than I solve.
Yes, sir.
I guess, that I'm just sort of intrigued because one of the San Juan County commissioners just the other day said, hey, if you want to make a transition to renewable energy, there has to be a plan. And I think that's let's plan. Let's look at a transition plan, at least as a contingency. We don't know necessarily what the utilities around here are going to do. If Public Service Company of New Mexico follows through with what they're telling us, they're going to file for abandonment of the San Juan Generating Station in the second quarter of 2019. Okay, so between now and 2022, we need to start talking about, do we have incremental change? Are we able to add to clean energy? What is clean energy?
Right.
I would say it's renewables.
Sure. Or what does that abandonment mean? Does that mean that the plant is shuttered, or that there's they're shopping around for a new buyer for that plant to keep it going? And I think that's some controversial stuff too, right?
Yeah, very controversial. I mean, the other coal plants in the region are going through similar processes, and the one that's slated for earliest retirement is Navajo Generating Station in Page, Arizona.
Right.
And there's no potential new ownership.
They had a group and they backed out.
They had a group. They were called Avenue Capital, and they backed out after they, I think, started understanding some of the controversy. But it also, there's no money to be made in these old coal plants, and there's lots of liabilities. So when we're having this discussion about the coal plants shutting down here, we need to be talking about decommissioning, reclamation, restoration, replacement energy. There's a lot of pieces that need to come into play.
And that's the plan you're talking about, is to have a plan forward.
We've seen a lot of companies abandon and utilities abandon this area after they're done driving the benefits. Southern California Edison, BHP Billiton. When BHP Billiton sold Navajo Mine to the Navajo Nation, the Navajo Transitional Energy Company, they gave all the liabilities to NTEC.
Right.
And so we need to be a little bit more savvy in terms of the broader dynamics of what's happening here. Abandonment's a scary thing, and so I would say that I'm in the school of thinking that if these coal plants are going to close in 2022 and somewhere in that era, we've got a lot of work to do.
Right. So if that's going to happen, and you seem to be pretty sure that it's going to, and we'll see it less than 6 months from now in the second quarter of 2019, can the state mandate that P&M do a certain number of things as they go through the abandonment process to reclaim or replace with some other type of energy production facility or something like that? Is that something the state has jurisdiction over, P&M, to make them do something?
You mentioned the election, and one of the things that's changed fairly significantly is the makeup of the Public Regulation Commission of the state, and they're the ones who would oversee the abandonment proceedings. So I would hope that, the San Juan delegation, would be down there kind of saying, all right, as part of this, what's going to happen with abandonment, decommissioning, and reclamation.
PRC has the power, I guess, in that conversation.
But it's incumbent upon us. I mean,
Gotcha.
like, are we challenging this idea that, the coal plants are going to close, or are we going to come to the recognition that that's an economic reality?
Okay, very good. Mike Eisenfeld is my guest this morning from San Juan Citizens Alliance. There is another event coming up next week that I want to ask you about, and that regards this pool rule, I believe, and it has been proposed by the Hillcorp company about what they would like to see changed at a state level, I guess, and they're asking the State Oil and Gas Conservation Division to make this rule change that would allow them, and you're going to have to help me on the specifics here, Mike Eisenfeld, because that's where my brain just goes off. So,
that's okay. It's, again...
Am I getting it partially right?
Yeah. So Hillcorp has put forth an application to change the well density associated with one of the formations, which is called the Blanco Mesa Verde. And right now they can have 8 wells per section.
Okay.
And what they're talking about is wanting to go to 16 wells per section. And they're also talking about a particular technique called recompletions. And so they go into an existing well bore and perforate and go to the Blanco Mesa Verde formation. Now, our concern over the application is that the way it's written, we think that this company at some point, if the price of natural gas came up, that they could conceivably be creating new well pads, and the new 8 wells per section could be new wells drilled. Mm-hmm. And so we think that this warrants a rulemaking. And our group, we showed up with an attorney in October at a hearing, and we were denied standing. And so...
which means you couldn't say anything at the hearing, I guess.
Part of the responsibility of the Oil Conservation Commission and the Oil Conservation Division is to consider public health and the environment. And we believe that decision-making this magnitude, this would pertain to San Juan County and Rio Arriba County.
Right.
And yet, it's being heard in Santa Fe, and groups like ours that have 30 years of experience working in the community. Again, we don't speak for everybody or anybody, but we feel like we should be part of the discussion rather than it being mandated. And so we're asking that this application, it's going to be heard November 19th, Monday in Santa Fe, and we're asking for at least a delay so that we can get more information about why this is not being considered as a more formal rulemaking.
Okay, interesting. Farmington City Council, my understanding this week, has passed a resolution in favor or backing this proposed change. A lot of folks that have been on this program have talked about this being a jobs creation. It would certainly create more activity here in the San Juan and Rio Arriba County areas that you're talking about. And it's my understanding that this can be done already with but it's a case-by-case basis by the OCD that has to make that decision, I think, on a case-by-case basis, depending on what section we're talking about.
Right, and so I think that we could agree that that if this was limited to recompletions and not the possibility for 8 new well pads and 8 new wells drilled, if it's 8 new wells drilled and 8 new well pads, that's going to have a major deterrent on all the other things that are going on around here. And because of the complicated nature of like land ownership, so for example, you have a 40-acre ranchette in Farmington, and all of a sudden now you're going to have another well pad in the middle of it. We're talking about trying to transform our community into recreation, bringing retirees here, tourism, jolt your journey, whatever you want to call it. I just kind of think that I understand where the city is in terms of like, we need the revenue, we need the jobs.
Right.
And in some ways, maybe Hillcorp and OCD can do a better job explaining to us why this application is going in the way it is. Again, it seems like it's being rushed and that we need clarification. Why isn't this a rulemaking? Last time they did this in 1998, they changed it and they called it infill drilling. They went from 4 wells per section to 8,
okay.
And they called it infill drilling, and they had pretty substantial, discussion and hearings, and different entities were involved, like the federal government, the Department of the Interior. Let's raise the bar on the discussion right now, and is it just about recompletions, or is it about new wells?
Interesting. Okay, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But that's good. It's supposed to take place next week, you say?
Monday in Santa Fe.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Mike, we're out of time, unfortunately, but it's been a great conversation.
Okay, yeah. I just want to also just say that
you got an event
that San Juan Citizens Alliance is sponsoring a Wild and Scenic Film Festival tomorrow at the Little Theater, Friday, the Little Theater at 5:30, and just a good opportunity to kind of see some of the excitement associated with Wild and Scenic Rivers.
All right. We're showing our viewers our events calendar. It's listed there for the 16th, on November 16th, here at San Juan College. You can find more details right there in our events calendar, and check it out, everybody. But there are some of the other events on our calendar as well. But thanks for the reminder.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
You bet. Great to see you.
Yeah,
Mike
nice
Eisenfeld from the San Juan Citizens Alliance, my guest here on KSJE. Back with more in just a moment. Right now, the time is 8:52.
Of all the problems the Allies faced in the summer of 1942, none was more threatening than unrestrained German submarine warfare.
A Moment in Time with Dan Roberts.
Fresh challenges seemed to inspire Howard Robard Hughes. At the age of 17, he took control of the Hughes Tool Company upon the death of his father. This provided the financial base for his other interests: movies, starlets, and flying. Part of his work at Hughes Aircraft Company was the construction of experimental airplanes, and in 1942 he tackled the problem of shipping on oceans bristling with deadly submarines. The Germans were sinking more ships than the Allies could build. His solution was a gigantic flying boat. The idea originated with Henry J. Kaiser, the Oakland, California-based industrialist, many of whose ships were being sent to the bottom. Kaiser persuaded Hughes to take up the challenge, and after some hesitation, Howard and his associates began design work. For some time, he had been trying to convince the Army that he could build a bomber using Duramold, a process by which the airplane's parts would be constructed out of plywood saturated with synthetic glue to make it strong and waterproof. By the fall of 1942, the Spruce Goose was born. Next time, Howard Hughes' Folly. At the University of Richmond School of Professional and Continuing Studies, this is Dan Roberts.
A Moment in Time with Dan Roberts is produced at the University of Richmond in cooperation with WCVE Public Radio. Our theme music is composed by B.J. Liederman. Our sound engineer is Rob Richards. Transcripts, podcasts, audio, and video are available at amomentintime.com. To find out how your company can help bring history to life through a sponsorship of A Moment in Time
of the natural world. To do this, we take just 90 seconds and present stories about the plants and animals around us. The facts are fun, the sound effects are neat, and the host ain't so bad either. Please join me for the 90-second Naturalist.
Listen every weekday afternoon during the KSJE Evening News at 5:30. This program is for information purposes only. It is not intended to be used as a recommendation for investing or as legal advice. Each person has his or her specific situation, circumstance, and objective, and should consult their own personal advisor or counsel. It's Thursday morning here on KSJE. It's now time to check in with Jason Kelko from Citizens Trust and Investment Corporation on what the heck the markets are up to this week. Jason, good morning.
Good morning, Scott. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, but my head is spinning.
Oh, I know.
It is literally a roller coaster, I think, this week.
It really is right now. We've experienced some of the big drops at the beginning of a roller coaster in the past month or so.
Right, but then there's ups. Well, there is ups, though, too, right, in some things. So anyway, we'll talk about it. But
right.
What's going on? What is going on?
Well, that's one of the great things is we can talk positive about natural gas for a change. You know, every time we mention it, it tends to be fairly stagnant.
True.
But now we've had these huge moves in natural gas in the past few days. Yesterday, November 14th, was the largest daily gain, percentage gain anyways, in 14 years.
And folks are watching us this morning on Facebook or YouTube. We have a chart. You know, I love charts.
Oh, yeah.
And I love to show charts when you talk about these things. So you can see this is a year-to-date chart. So yesterday, you can just see how the big spike.
It's huge. Yeah, it's huge. It's a big mover. It was up 18%.
Wow.
The highest price since February of 2014.
Okay.
So
and everyone, I mean, around here, I would imagine would get pretty excited about a price like this. But but now we have to wait and see if it holds up at that level, right?
Right. That's the only issue with it right now, is it seems like it's a reaction to a couple of things that it may not necessarily be sustainable.
Okay.
It's mainly a result of a 15-year low in the stockpiles of natural gas. There hasn't really been any incentive for producers to stockpile it with the price so low.
Sure.
So we've had these lower stockpiles. Combine that with really cold weather forecasts throughout the next week for most of the U.S.
Right.
So you've got, obviously, this supply and demand crunch right now.
Okay.
That is driving the price up a little bit. The U.S. supplies and storage are about 16% below their 5-year average. So we've got a little bit less in stockpiles. We've got this cold weather forecast coming through. So this is really working together to kind of drive the price up. The good thing about that, though, is it seems like it's going to be like that for a little while. The futures for natural gas contracts, futures are a way that an investor can either lock in a buying or selling price.
Okay, right. And what do those look like?
They are up through March. So that kind of says that there's going to be pressure on the price all the way through the winter season.
Okay.
So that's good,
right?
You know, for us and for the producers.
And I guess the other thing is that when they do settle back down, no one really knows where that low point will be, and it's possible that could be higher than what we have seen.
That's right.
For the last few years, right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that completely. It's going to take a little while to get the stockpiles back to where investors are comfortable with them.
Okay.
And then one of the other things that's actually boding well for us in the long term for natural gas is the exports actually are up for the U.S. We don't talk about it a whole lot,
right?
But there is a kind of a rising global demand for liquefied natural gas as the cleaner energies sort of take over.
Sure.
The U.S. has actually become a net exporter of natural gas, which means the exports are more than the imports that we use. So that's for the first time in 60 years we've done that. So,
okay. Well, I know there's been a lot of talk about trying to outfit some of the port facilities with export infrastructure, I guess, to get those offload that onto the ships and get it out of here if you can export it. So I guess that's showing up right now in some of the indicators, right?
I think so. I mean, I think the bigger crunch right now is the supply and the cold weather forecast, but this is coming into play. And I think as we, like you said, build up that infrastructure a little bit, this can really become one of the U.S.'s main exports and really help out the price of natural gas and help out this area.
I was going to say, thinking selfishly, I think there's a lot of producers here that would love to help supply some of that demand, especially at a higher price.
Right. So we've got natural gas going one way.
Okay, natural gas is one way.
Then we got oil.
And oil
going the other way.
That is going the other way. Okay.
So it did end up in the green a little bit yesterday.
Right.
It rose about 1% to $56.25 a barrel, but we're still down about 23% since the peak in October.
Yeah, about lower 70, like $70, $72 a gallon range or whatever it is. This is the West Texas Intermediate graph that we're showing our viewers. So
of course. So we're up a little bit today. Today. But yeah, you can see that fall off right there, and it's very significant. It's actually down about 23%, like I said, since the peak in October, which really does qualify it as a bear market.
Okay.
So we hate to throw that word around.
Right.
But
that's the definition.
That's the definition. Yep, a decline from a recent high of 20%. So
interesting. And we can see, looking back though, it's right around maybe where it was a year ago,
right?
The price, I guess.
Yep. We kind of, it's a little bit of a cycle, so it did fall back down to there. There's slowing global growth. It's going to be weaker demand. The supply is holding steady. The producers are not cutting production. We will see OPEC meet later on this year,
right?
And we would expect them to probably cut production because the prices have gone down significantly,
and that hurts them too.
It does hurt them too. But on the other side of that, the Trump administration really likes where the prices are. So we're going to see pressure from our administration to keep the prices low.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to watch it play out.
Interesting. And North America, United States, are still the top producer of oil these days, right? Even above Saudi Arabia and those other
Russia.
big... Yeah.
Which is kind of, I think that's making them a little... We'll see. We'll see when OPEC and their allies meet and
See what they decide to do.
Yeah, see what they decide to do.
Okay, interesting. Very good. Anything else you're watching for us, Jason, this week?
You know, just looking at the markets. Apple was a big mover. They were down 2.8% yesterday. There's really this sell-off in the market that started in October, and investors just aren't sure. They're not sure what's really causing it right now, and so there's this tentativeness to jump back in. So we'll just keep an eye on the markets towards the end of the year and hope for a little bounce back.
All right. Well, we appreciate that. We will skip next week. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving
to you and your family.
Yep, thank you.
And we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
Very good. Thank you so much. That's Jason Calcote from Citizens Trust and Investment Corporation, my guest here every Thursday on KSJE Farmington.